Welcome back to Wisdom Unveiled. We're on episode 39 of 40, and today we're diving into the world of Rumi again.
Always a fascinating journey.
Absolutely. We'll be drawing insights from Marifat, which is a collection of 40 conversations with Iranian philosophers,
Oh, wonderful.
like Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani. But before we get started, a quick note. These are translated conversations.
Right.
So we want to acknowledge that some nuances might be lost in translation.
Of course, translating these complex philosophical ideas is always tricky. But even through that lens of translation, Rumi's wisdom really shines through.
It does. It does. And one of the first things that struck me in these conversations was Rumi's concern with what he calls cold hearts and raw intellect. He even states directly, hearts are all cold and intellect is raw.
Yeah,
What do you think he means by this, and why does it seem to bother him so much?
that's a great observation, and it gets right to the heart of Rumi's message. He's pointing out a common human tendency where we can get so caught up in our daily routines and worldly desires that our hearts lose their warmth, their capacity for genuine connection, compassion. And at the same time, our intellect, while full of potential, remains underdeveloped, like a fruit that hasn't fully ripened.
Yeah, it's almost like we have all the ingredients for a delicious meal, but we haven't learned how to cook them yet.
Exactly.
We have this potential for deep understanding, spiritual nourishment,
Yeah,
but it's not being realized.
that's a great analogy.
Oh.
And Rumi seems to be suggesting that just going through the motions of life, relying solely on logic and reason, without cultivating our hearts, leaves us incomplete.
So is he saying we need to abandon logic and reason altogether and just follow our emotions?
Not quite. Rumi isn't advocating for blind faith or emotional impulsivity. In fact, he places great emphasis on using our intellect, but not just in the way we might typically think. He believes in a kind of seeing with the intellect, which goes beyond simply observing the surface level of things.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
What does he mean by seeing with the intellect?
Right.
It sounds a bit paradoxical.
It might sound strange at first, but think of it this way. Imagine you're looking at a beautiful flower. Most people would appreciate its color, its fragrance, its delicate petals, but Rumi would urge us to go deeper, to contemplate the flower's role in the ecosystem, its connection to the sun and rain, its eventual wilting and return to the earth. It's about perceiving the interconnectedness of everything, the underlying patterns and principles that govern the universe.
So instead of just passively observing, we're engaging our minds to uncover the deeper meaning and connections in everything we encounter,
Exactly.
whether it's a flower, a work of art, or even a difficult situation.
Exactly. And this kind of intellectual seeing, as Rumi calls it, is essential for spiritual growth.
Yeah.
It allows us to move beyond a superficial understanding of the world and ourselves, and to connect with a deeper, more profound reality.
This all ties into Rumi's emphasis on choice, doesn't it?
Yes.
He seems to believe that humans have this unique capacity to choose their path, unlike other creatures who are primarily driven by instinct.
Absolutely. Rumi repeatedly highlights this power of choice, reminding us that we're not simply puppets of fate or circumstance. We have the ability to shape our own destiny through the choices we make, but with that freedom comes responsibility.
It's like being given a blank canvas and a set of paints. We have the freedom to create whatever we want.
Yeah.
But if we don't make a conscious effort to choose our colors and compose our image, someone else might just come along and paint over our canvas.
What a vivid way to put it. You've captured the essence perfectly. And if we don't actively choose, we risk becoming passive participants in our own lives, allowing external forces to dictate our direction.
This brings us to another fascinating aspect of Rumi's teachings. His emphasis on the present moment as a source of renewal and transformation. He writes, I desire only that which is his in every moment. What do you think he means by this? Is he simply advocating for mindfulness, for appreciating the present moment?
While mindfulness is certainly a part of it, I believe Rumi is pointing to something even more profound. He's suggesting that each moment holds within it the potential for a fresh start, a new beginning. It's not just about accepting the present as it is. It's about recognizing its inherent dynamism, its capacity for change and transformation.
So each moment is like a blank canvas,
Yes.
full of possibilities waiting to be explored and brought to life.
Exactly. And this idea connects beautifully to the concept of choice. Each moment presents us with new choices, new opportunities to align ourselves with our deepest values and intentions.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to decision-making.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about weighing pros and cons. It's about recognizing that every choice, no matter how small, has the power to shape our future.
You're getting it. It's a powerful shift in perspective. And Rumi even links this idea to the English word already, suggesting that it could be interpreted as all things are ready in the present moment. The resources, the guidance, the potential we need are always available to us if we learn to tap into the power of the now.
This is where I start to get a little lost.
Yeah.
If every moment is new and full of potential, how do we reconcile that with the passage of time?
Right.
With the fact that things change and decay?
That's a great question, and it leads us to one of the most intriguing paradoxes in Rumi's teachings, the idea of overcoming time. We all know that time seems to march relentlessly forward, eroding physical things, leaving its mark on everything. But Rumi suggests that true understanding, that deeper awareness cultivated through seeing with the intellect, transcends the limitations of time.
Are you saying that we can somehow stop time or escape its effects?
Not literally, of course, but Rumi seems to be pointing to a dimension of reality that exists outside of the linear flow of time. Think of it like a mathematical formula. The Pythagorean theorem remains true regardless of how much time has passed, right?
So just as certain truths remain constant, Rumi is suggesting that developing our intellect and understanding can lead us to a realm that's beyond the reach of time's decay.
Yes,
It's like building a shelter that can withstand the storms of time
exactly.
by focusing on things that are timeless and enduring.
Precisely. And this brings us to another crucial aspect of Rumi's teachings that I think we should explore further.
Absolutely. I'm eager to hear more.
One thing that Rumi really emphasizes is the importance of opening our ears and minds to wisdom. He asks, where's the ear to listen? Highlighting that truly listening, truly absorbing and integrating wisdom is a skill we need to cultivate.
So it's not just about passively hearing words, but about actively engaging with ideas,
Yeah.
allowing them to penetrate our minds and refine our understanding.
Exactly. And this active engagement with wisdom prevents our intellect from remaining raw, as he puts it. It's about seeking out sources of wisdom, be it through teachers, books, nature, or even our own experiences, and letting them nourish our understanding. And speaking of seeking wisdom, one of the things that struck me in these conversations with Dr. Dinani and Dr. Larijani was how both Rumi and another prominent Persian poet, Attar, seemed to have a special affinity for the night.
Yeah, I've always been drawn to Rumi's poems about the night. He often describes it as a time for contemplation, for connecting with a deeper dimension of reality. It's like the world's distractions fade away and you're left with this vastness and mystery.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Dr. Larijani suggests that the night provides a unique opportunity for inward exploration. During the day, we're bombarded with external stimuli, but when darkness falls, we can turn inward, quieting our minds and tuning into that deeper part of ourselves, the part that lies beyond the ego and the limitations of our individual identities.
It's almost like our modern world is designed to keep us distracted, to prevent us from spending time in that quiet, contemplative space.
You've hit on something important. The constant noise and stimulation of modern life can make it difficult to access that inner stillness, that space where we can truly connect with ourselves and the divine. But Rumi reminds us that this connection is always available to us if we create the space to listen.
This makes me think of something Dr. Dinani said about Rumi's views on social justice. He spoke about how Ali, the Prophet Muhammad's son-in-law, chose to eat simple bread alongside the people, even though he could have feasted like a king.
Ah, yes. That's a powerful example of humility and solidarity. Dr. Larijani explains that for Ali, it wasn't simply about personal piety or self-denial. It was about embodying justice by sharing the burdens of his community, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every individual, regardless of their social standing.
So it wasn't just about charity, but about actively participating in the struggles of those less fortunate and working to create a more just and equitable society.
Exactly, and this connects back to Rumi's emphasis on seeing with the intellect. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings and understanding that our actions, however small they may seem, have a ripple effect on the world around us.
This brings to mind Dr. Dinani's incredible definition of justice, placing every single thing in its rightful place. It's a beautiful phrase, but I'm struggling to see how it relates to social justice. It sounds more like organizing your sock drawer.
That's an amusing comparison, but it actually touches on a profound truth. You see, Rumi's definition of justice works on multiple levels. On a societal level, it's about ensuring that everyone has access to the resources and opportunities they need to thrive, dismantling systems of oppression, and creating a world where everyone is treated with fairness and respect.
So it's about creating a harmonious balance where everyone is in their rightful place, not in a rigid hierarchy, but in a sense of equity and interdependence.
Precisely. And what's fascinating is that Dr. Dinani points out that this principle also applies to our own inner lives. He suggests that true inner peace comes from bringing our thoughts, emotions, and desires into harmony, ensuring that no one aspect dominates or throws us out of balance.
So my sock drawer analogy wasn't that far off. It's about creating inner order, making sure that each part of ourselves is in its rightful place, contributing to our overall well-being.
I love how you're connecting these ideas. It highlights a key theme in Rumi's work, the interconnectedness of everything. The way we organize our inner world reflects how we interact with the outer world, and vice versa.
And this brings us back to another core concept we've been discussing. Rumi's belief in love as a transformative force, a path to spiritual awakening. His poems are filled with expressions of love, but it seems he's talking about something much broader than just romantic love.
You're absolutely right. Rumi's concept of love is expansive and all-encompassing. It extends to all beings, recognizing the inherent dignity and worth of every person, every creature, every aspect of creation.
It's like taking that saying, love thy neighbor as thyself, and expanding it to encompass the entire universe.
Exactly. It's about seeing the divine spark in everything and everyone, recognizing that we're all interconnected, all part of this grand tapestry of being woven together by love.
What a beautiful way to put it. But this idea of universal love can feel so abstract and idealistic. How do we cultivate this kind of love in our daily lives, especially when faced with so much suffering and injustice in the world?
That's where the connection between love and social justice comes in. Dr. Larijani highlights how this idea of universal love is deeply intertwined with Rumi's understanding of God's oneness, the belief that there's only one ultimate reality, and that reality is pure love, pure consciousness.
So if we're all connected on this deeper level, if we're all part of this divine oneness, then harming another person is ultimately harming ourselves.
Precisely. Dr. Jinani emphasizes that this understanding has profound implications for how we live our lives. If we truly grasp the interconnectedness of everything, then our actions, even those that seem insignificant, have a ripple effect on the world around us.
That's the butterfly effect, right?
Yep.
A small change in one part of the system can have a massive impact elsewhere.
Exactly. And this awareness should guide our choices, our relationships, our interactions with the world. Rumi believed that every moment is an opportunity to express love, to act with compassion, to contribute to a more just and harmonious world.
But how do we cultivate this awareness? Earlier, we talked about seeing with the intellect, but is that something we can all do? Or is it reserved for saints and mystics?
That's a great question, and it leads us to another fascinating aspect of Rumi's teachings that we can explore further. Well, Dr. Dinani actually addresses this directly in one of the Marifat conversations. He suggests that this capacity for deeper seeing, it isn't limited to, mystics or spiritual masters. It's something we all have the potential to develop.
Okay. Yeah, that's encouraging to hear. It makes me think of that saying, we are all already enlightened. We just have to realize it.
Yes. And Dr. Larijani adds that while we all have this potential, it does require, both knowledge and experience. It's about studying the wisdom traditions, engaging in spiritual practices, and then applying those insights to our daily lives.
So it's not enough to just read Rumi's poetry or intellectually grasp these concepts.
Right.
We need to put them into practice in the real world.
Exactly. It's like learning to play an instrument. You can study music theory and watch others play, but until you pick up the instrument and start practicing yourself, you won't truly develop the skill.
That's a great analogy. And speaking of practice, one of the practices Rumi emphasized was remembrance. Constantly reminding ourselves of the divine presence in every moment. Dr. Dinani shared that beautiful line from Rumi, wherever you are and whatever you do, be in love.
That's such a powerful reminder. It's about infusing our actions, our relationships, our work with a sense of sacredness and purpose. It's about seeing the divine spark not just in ourselves, but in everything around us.
It's like shifting our perspective from seeing the world as a collection of separate objects, to seeing it as a unified field of consciousness, a web of interconnectedness where everything is ultimately an expression of the divine.
You've captured it beautifully, and this awareness has profound implications for how we understand our role in the world. It's no longer just about pursuing our own individual goals and desires, but about contributing to the well-being of the whole.
It makes me think of something we talked about earlier, that idea of becoming a master of our own Kaaba.
Yes, Dr. Dhanani brings up that powerful phrase from Rumi. He became the master and lord of the Kaaba. Of course, he's not talking about literally ruling over a physical building.
Right. It's a metaphor, but what does it represent?
Dr. Larijani explains that Rumi is using this image to convey the idea of spiritual mastery. It's about aligning ourselves with a higher purpose, embodying those divine qualities of justice, wisdom, and compassion, and becoming a beacon of light for others.
So it's not about power or control, but about service and contribution. It's about using our gifts and talents to make a positive impact on the world.
Exactly. And Dr. Dhanani points out that this idea of spiritual mastery isn't some distant goal that we achieve only after years of intense practice. It's something we can cultivate in every moment through our everyday actions and interactions.
Okay, that's really empowering to hear. So how do we actually become these masters of our own Kaabas, so to speak?
Well, Dr. Larijani highlights a few key principles that Rumi emphasized. One is the importance of self-knowledge. Understanding our own strengths and weaknesses, our motivations and desires, so we can act with greater awareness and intention.
So it's that classic advice, know thyself. But it sounds like it goes deeper than just introspection.
Absolutely. It also involves feedback from others, being open to hearing how our actions impact those around us, and using those insights to grow and evolve.
How interesting. Yeah, it's like we're all mirrors for each other, reflecting back both our strengths and our areas for growth. We need that external perspective to see ourselves more clearly.
I love that analogy. And another key principle is the practice of presence, bringing our full attention to the present moment, letting go of distractions and worries, and engaging fully with whatever we're doing.
Yeah, that sounds so simple, yet in our fast-paced world, it can feel incredibly challenging. We're constantly bombarded with information and demands on our attention.
It's true, but Dr. Dhanani reminds us that presence is a skill we can cultivate through practice. The more we practice bringing our attention to the now, the easier it becomes. And the rewards are immense. Greater peace, joy, and connection with ourselves and the world.
So it's like we're waking up from a dream, from that autopilot state of just rushing through life, and we start to appreciate the richness and beauty of each moment as it unfolds.
Exactly. And Rumi saw this practice of presence as essential for cultivating compassion. When we're truly present with someone, we can truly see them, hear them, understand them. We connect with their humanity, their suffering, their joy. We're not lost in our own thoughts and judgments.
It's like stepping outside of our own limited perspective and experiencing the world through another person's eyes. And from that place, compassion naturally arises.
You've got it.
I love it.
All of these principles, self-knowledge, presence, compassion, they are interconnected. They build upon and reinforce each other, weaving together the tapestry of spiritual mastery that Rumi describes.
It's incredible how Rumi manages to weave together such profound philosophical insights with practical guidance for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
He truly was a master teacher. His words continue to inspire and guide us centuries later, offering us a path to a more awakened and compassionate way of being in the world.
It's been such a rich and insightful journey exploring Rumi's wisdom with you today. I feel like I've gained a deeper understanding, not just of his teachings, but of myself and my own path.
Me too. And remember, this is just the beginning. There's so much more to discover in Rumi's work. I encourage you to continue exploring his poetry and teachings and to see how they resonate with your own life.
To our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of Rumi. We hope you've been inspired by his timeless wisdom and that it continues to illuminate your path. Until next time on Wisdom Unveiled.